Hey, I'm Super Duper Gamer, and today I'm going to show you how to play Ascension, the deck building game. My copy of the game is the Year 1 Collector's Edition, but the base game is exactly the same and it'll play exactly the same way. The Collector's Edition just adds some pretty stuff you don't really need, including this nice tin. Okay, inside the box, we've got a rule book. The Collector's Edition comes with a game board that you don't need at all, but it's kind of nice. And here's just a box of cards. Now this box is only half full. Half full of cards, the rest of it is empty, which is nice because when my Year 2 Collector's Edition comes, it looks like I'll be able to fit the whole thing in here. Even if I couldn't, there's nothing else in here. And you could probably just take this out, and it looks like you can get about 4 times as many cards in here as what the game actually comes with. Okay, there's 4 factions in the game. The Enlightened are blue, Lifebound are green, Mechana are brown, and Void are purple. In the rulebook, you'll see the Collector's Edition comes with Ascension, Ascension Return of the Fallen, and 4, I think, promo packs that were released in the first year of the game. The rulebook doesn't really separate Ascension from the Rise of the Fallen. Sorry, Return of the Fallen. Other than Return of the Fallen adds 1 keyword, Fate, which is described here. And then promos, it just mentions that each of the 4 promos comes with its own rule card in the box. It also comes with some nice backstory for the game here, if that interests you. Okay, these are the honor tokens for the game. Red is worth 5, clear is worth 1. The goal of the game is to finish with the most honor. And here is the Collector's Edition game board. So we've got spots for the deck, the Void, the center row, the Mystics, Heavy Infantry, Cultists, and Honor Pool. This can be done just as easily on a table without the board, which is how the game is usually played. To set up the game, the first thing you're going to need to do is get starting decks out for everybody. So there's 2 of the basic cards, Apprentice and Militia. Every player should receive 4 Apprentice and 2 Militia. That will form their 10 card starting deck. There's 3 cards that are always available: the Cultist, the Heavy Infantry, and the Mystic. Okay, for the Honor Pool, you want to start with 30 times the number of players. So for a 2-player game, 60, 3-player, 90, 4-player, 120, and 5-player, 150. And I think you can play 6-player also for 180. Now, 5 and 6-player might just be with the expansion. I think the base game only supports 1 to 4 players. So I'm going to show the 1-player variant. So I actually have 50 out here. 10 1s and 40 and 5s. Okay, so once you've given everyone 8 apprentices and 2 militias, you've set out your Mystic, Heavy Infantry, and Cultist, you've made your honor pool, you create the main deck, which for this right now I'm going to use just the base game. So this is the base game. The expansion Return of the Fallen is this. And then the promos, there's 4 different promos that you can add as you like, individually or all of them. Okay, so in this game, you basically just take all of your cards and shuffle them together into one giant deck, and that becomes your draw pile. This here, there's going to be 6 cards in the middle. That's known as the center row. And that is where you'll be able to buy new heroes or fight monsters. Okay, there are 2 forms of currency in this game, and you have both of them in your starting deck. So apprentices provide you with this triangle symbol +1. That is called a rune in this game, and that is used to buy heroes and as well as constructs. So here you see an example of a hero. It says Mechana Hero. It's brown, like the Mechana faction. All the Mechana cards are brown. Here is a Lifebound Construct. So heroes are something that you play on your turn. Constructs are something that you play out in front of you, and they remain in play until something destroys them. The other currency is Power, which is this shield sword symbol here. Militia gives you +1 power. Power is used to defeat monsters. So in the top right corner of each monster card, there's a number on the power symbol. That's how much power you need to defeat that monster. 6 in the case of the Earth Tyrant, and 5 in the case of the Sea Tyrant, and 2 in the case of the Cultist. Now the game only comes with one Cultist card. That's because that card actually just stays here, and whenever you have extra power, you can just hit the Cultist with it to gain 1 honor. The star symbol is honor. Whenever you see a number and a star, that is how much honor the card is worth. Monsters reward honor when you kill them. Heroes and constructs, you gain honor for having them in your deck. So down here you see the honor symbol with a 1. At the end of the game, this will be worth 1 honor to your honor total. Okay, when you're playing Ascension deck building game, your hand size is 5, so you shuffle your deck. You draw 5 cards, and that is your hand. Here I have 5 apprentices. So I'll go first. In the one-player game, you go first, and you're sort of playing against an imaginary opponent, and whoever has the most honor at the end of the game wins. It's kind of similar to a 2-player game, except for there's no opponent. They just automatically get the last 2 cards in the line here. So normally when you're playing Ascension, and not the one-player variant, if you have 5 runes, you could say, I'm buying the Reactor Monk, and you play all, 4 of these to give you +4 runes, and then it costs 4 runes to buy this card. So then you just buy this hero, put it in your discard pile, and then it immediately gets replaced with the card off the top of the deck. Okay, and then you would have 1 rune left, and you're like, okay, there's nothing I can do with 1 rune. So all the cards you played and all the cards in your hand you didn't play, go to your discard pile, and you draw your next 5 cards. And then play continues around the table like that. Now the honor pool is used whenever you defeat a monster and it rewards honor. That's when you take the tokens out of the honor pool. So even though my Reactor Monk will be worth 2 honor at the end of the game, you don't take any tokens for that. That just gets added to your token total at the end when you count everything up. So you got to remember who goes first. So I just went first. After we go around the table, what happens is at the end of the game ends when the honor pool runs out. So after someone depletes the honor pool, no matter who it is, then everyone finishes their turn up until the person that went last. Every player then gets the same amount of turns for the game. Now the difference in the 1-player variant, or the solo variant, is when you remove something from the center row, instead of replacing it, you actually shift all the cards over and then replace it at the left end here. And when your turn's over, so this is my hand, this is my discard pile. Right, I completed my turn and then I redrew to 5. At the end of my turn, my imaginary opponent, we'll call him Carl. Carl takes the last 2 cards here. So if it's a hero or a construct, he just takes it, and then that was worth 3 honor to him, and we'll count that up at the end. If it's a monster, this one here is worth 5 honor. Now this says reward, gain 5 honor, draw 2 cards. So if I killed this, that's what I would have done. I would have took 5 honor and drawn 2 cards from my deck. However, the imaginary opponent Carl, for the solo variant, doesn't do anything other than gain the honor listed on the monster card. So he will gain 5 honor, and we'll send that monster to the void. And then all the cards shift over, get replaced on the left, and I take my next turn. Now once you need to draw a card and your draw pile is empty, you then shuffle your discard pile to recreate your deck. Okay, the other thing to note here is constructs. So heroes, you just play them like you do with the original cards, and they just do what they say they do. Whenever you banish a card, it goes to the void. Unless it is a mystic or heavy infantry, then it returns to its always available stack. or if it is an apprentice or militia, which are the things you'll most likely be banishing, at least initially, they'll just be removed from the game when they're banished. Monsters, when you defeat them, you do what the reward says, and they go to the void. There are some monsters that list a trophy effect, and in that case the monster actually sits out in front of you, and its trophy effect continues applying. And the third type of card in the game is a construct. So here you can see it says Void Construct. Void is just because it's one of the purple cards. Like I said, there's 4 factions in the game. Construct is a card type. So this, when you play it, instead of going to your discard pile at the end of your turn, it stays in play. So constructs are more like things you build permanently. So on my turn I can play a construct, and it says once per turn gain 3 power. Okay, and I've got 1 militia, so that's a total of 4 power. So I've got 3 power and 1 power. There's no monsters out here that I can kill. There's a 7 and a 5, so I'll hit the cultist, and I can actually kill 2 cultists on my turn if I would like. So each one of those grants me 1 honor. So I had 4 power, but I've spent all of it. I now have 0 power, and then I have 4 runes, so I can choose to buy anything out here. Maybe a Mechana hero here, Kor the Ferromancer. He gives me 2 power and lets me draw a card if I control 2 or more constructs. Right now I've got 1. So he goes to my discard pile when I buy him. And don't forget, if you're playing this with your friends, then you'll just replace the card like that. However, in the solo variant, you slide it over and place the card on the left. Okay, so that was 3. I have 1 rune left. There's nothing to do with 1 rune, so my turn is over. Then all the cards I played go to my discard pile, but that construct is going to remain out here in play. Now the solo variant means I take the 2 cards from the right, give them to Carl, slide all the cards over, and replenish them from the draw pile here. Then I draw 5 more cards from my deck, and I'm ready to take my next turn. Now on my next turn, I again can once per turn gain 3 power, because this construct is still out here under my control. Now there's some monsters here that when you kill them, it makes your opponents banish a construct. So that's one way that the constructs disappear. Okay, and you just continue play until the honor pool runs out, which signals the last round. Then you finish the round so that the last player gets the last turn, and then the game's over. And then everyone counts up their total honor, which will be all the honor tokens they have. Here I have 3. Any honor they get from constructs, so I got 4 from that guy, and then any honor in their deck. Right, there's 2 here. The Mystic and Heavy Militia are both worth 1. This hero I bought is worth 2. So you just take the total from the cards and the tokens, combine them to get your total honor value, and compare totals to see who's won the game. Okay, so that's how you play Ascension, the deck building game. I didn't mention, if you're not familiar with deck builders, sort of the point of the game is to buy new cards to add to your deck to increase its power, and then there's a bunch of effects in the game that allow you to banish a card, which means take a card from your deck and remove it so that your deck no longer contains that card. So the goal is to banish your weaker cards and keep adding stronger cards so that throughout the course of the game your deck gets more and more powerful, and each turn you're able to produce more runes to buy more powerful heroes and more power to defeat bigger monsters. The game plays fairly quickly. Usually takes me about 30 to 45 minutes for a game. I've never played or seen the regular version of this game, so I can't comment on whether it's worth it to get the collector's edition or not. I can say that I really enjoy having my copy of the collector's edition. I think the foil art cards are wonderful, and a lot of people kind of criticize this game for the art being a little hokey, but I actually really enjoy it, and I think the foil really complements it in a lot of cases. So hopefully I've given you everything you need to know to get started playing Ascension. Enjoy the game.